Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get-started. That's greenlight.com/get-started.
I'm saying I waited 2 years for a bad zombie movie.
Dude, that's why they hired Sam Raimi.
I miss Joss Whedon.
Okay, really? Do you?
Bad people can make good content, Tom. I'm not giving up Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay, that's a weird hill to die on. Hey, what up, guys? You ready for the party?
I guess so, man. What's with the celebration?
Okay, so you know how whenever I miss the show, you guys are always like, oh, Heath ripped his dick off, jerking off on his mom or whatever. So bullshit pranks like that?
We do say that, yes.
Yeah. So Cecil hasn't missed the show in like 2 years. So I figure what better way to prank him than this?
It says Cecil misses an episode because he was trying to fuck a goat, but it kicked him so hard he shat his pants instead. You made a banner?
I did make a banner. We can say it in the intro. And also, I invited a bunch of podcast people we know to like tweet it and say it on their shows and stuff.
Dude.
No. I know what you're going to say. But I don't care. You guys always do this thing whenever I miss the show. Cecil never misses the show. This is our chance to finally get him.
Okay, Heath.
No. You guys always do pranks on me. We never do pranks on anyone else. I want to prank Cecil, and I want to get him, and I want to tell the whole internet he tried to fuck a goat and he shat his pants.
Heath, Cecil's missing the show today because his cat died. He and Sarah are, like, really upset about it.
Okay. I just thought they were on vacation.
No, cat.
You sure about that?
Okay, did you send Cecil a message that you were going to do this in his absence?
I did. Yes, I did.
Can I ask how?
Sure. Yep. It was a singing telegram.
Oh no.
I see. Yeah.
Do you think he'll be cool?
Nope. I do not think that.
Definitely no.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts, because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Eli Bosnick, and I'll be cracking this caper. Cecil will be unable to join us tonight, send him some love, but I've rounded up the rest of the usual suspects to help me tell the tale. The BA, Face, and Hannibal to my Murdoch, Tom, Noah, and Heath.
Okay, he's not wrong. Some people are ass men, some leg men. Me, I'm a face man. I like enormous faces. Easter Island is basically my Viagra.
It's the large face. Okay.
All right, but you were the Mr. T in this analogy, Tom. I am obviously face. One random listener ranked us by attractiveness once, and I think that's pretty definitive.
It's true. And that random listener was apparently Tom, who's a faceman.
Yeah, face man. Yes, face man. Absolutely. You guys don't like faces?
I'm a face man too.
Like, it's like women without faces.
I see them in
my head.
Bathtub spigots and shit. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. Before we begin tonight, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons. Patrons, without you, we'd be unable to buy the narcotics, pharmaceuticals, and cheese we so deeply require to provide everyone with japes. Thank you for the japes juice. And if you'd like to learn how to join their ranks, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Heath, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Vincenzo Pipino.
So who is Vincenzo Pipino?
He's one of the greatest professional thieves of all time, responsible for over 3,000 heists at museums, banks, galleries, and his specialty, the residences of obnoxiously rich people in his hometown of Venice, Italy. This includes thousands of kilograms of gold, millions of lira and euros and dollars, and most notably, a whole bunch of extremely valuable art pieces. But during the course of these crimes, he never committed any acts of violence, And when it came to the art, he almost always found a way for the stolen items to be returned to the owner in exchange for a reasonable ransom or personal favor.
Reasonable?
This was often accomplished in cooperation with kinda angry police who knew it was him for sure, but they couldn't prove it technically, so they reluctantly went along with the tradesies backsies game that he was doing. And it was this MO that got him the nickname the Gentleman Thief.
I think you'll find when I broke into your home and stole your stuff, I didn't murder you. They call me the super good guy who does stuff that is cool.
They do.
Wait a minute. He returns the art that he stole back to the original owner?
For a fee.
So he robs from the rich and then gives it back to the rich?
Yes, yes.
Like, he's less thief, more bureaucrat.
Yeah.
What?
But the oh, right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So, yeah, Pipino was born in 1943, and he started his career as a thief at a young age while growing up in Venice, Italy. At age 8, while he was working at a local bakery, he pulled off his first big heist. He stole a 50-liter aluminum milk churn, rolled it through the streets of the city, and sold it to a junk dealer for scrap metal. He also stole a 30-kilogram bag of sugar from the Italian Navy while making a bread delivery to one of their shipyards. Now, I'm not sure how an 8-year-old finds a fence for a giant bag of sugar. Maybe he just slowly ate it by the handful from under his bed. I don't know. Regardless, his lifelong passion for thievery was born.
All right, also, I will tell you who nobody is fucking with. And that is an 8-year-old who can pick up a 66-pound sack of sugar and run away with it. That kid was jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unless he did the rest of his burglaries from a rascal scooter, I'm pretty sure he didn't eat the 30 kilos of sugar.
Hey, I'm still working on it.
So, by the time Pipino was 10 years old, he was already ramping it up. His family was relatively poor, and when there wasn't enough food on the table, he'd go to the famous Piazza San Marco in Venice and just walk up to tables full of people at the cafes, take their food, and run away.
I'll do it.
But by this point, he'd learned all the alleys and back streets around the city, and when the cops would chase him, he'd very easily parkour his way out of the situation and then disappear into a crowd.
Oh, you know who I would hope would also know their way around the city? The police of that city.
You'd think.
Sure.
Okay, they
Slowly,
did,
though.
Eli, but they weren't expecting, like, somersault jukes. Yeah, it gets them every time.
Well, in my experience, the key is to get up high and then dive into a hay cart.
Yep.
Usually a hay cart over the lofts.
He was definitely doing that. Enzo, yeah, he's part of his name. So, eventually, Vincenzo's mother found out that her son was into thieving, and when he was 13, she tried to scare him away from the life of crime. She told him a story about a neighbor who stumbled in the stairwell of their rundown building and impaled her leg on a nail that was exposed, at which point she immediately died of nail-in leg. And according to the story, that lady's ghost was haunting their stairwell at night. The ghost would appear in the form of just a glowing, impaled leg, and she'd curse any kids who came home late after a night of stealing around the city.
Convenient.
Yeah, very convenient, the whole thing. His mom called the ghost La Gamba d'Oro, or the golden leg. Vincenzo referred to the impaled golden leg as the source of his nightmares throughout his childhood, so apparently it worked a little bit. And he actually developed a fear of darkness that would go on to affect his career as a thief. As an adult master thief, he only worked during daylight hours because of this trauma.
Wow.
It's not a ghost. It's a major award.
Yeah. So another result of the golden leg story was making Pipino learn how to climb the side of their crumbly apartment building to avoid that haunted stairwell with the golden leg. Eventually, he became an extremely skillful climber who learned to scale the crumbly brick facades all over Venice. This became an important part of his skill set. Starting around age 15, he would climb the wall of a local movie theater and drop inside through a window up there. Then he'd sneak through the building and prop open a back door where he set up a ticket booth of his own, selling low-price tickets to kids who couldn't afford the show at regular price.
Nice.
Joke's on him. All the real money's in the popcorn sales.
Well, plus he had to compete with the matinee pricing because he couldn't work after dark.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe he was selling handfuls of sugar there. That would
there you
explain.
go.
Maybe he was saving it. So Pipino continued honing his skill as a thief, and he spent the next few decades establishing himself as one of the best of all time. This includes a heist at the Swiss consulate, where he somehow talked himself inside and then walked away with the equivalent of about $250,000 in cash. He also robbed the actor Cary Grant, who famously played a master thief in the movie To Catch a Thief, by tailing Cary Grant through Venice and just walking into his hotel room and taking all his stuff when Grant fell asleep. Pipino is also known for stealing a large sum of cash from the Venice casino and for freeing a gorilla from a zoo in Rome because he thought the gorilla looked sad.
Huh.
Okay.
I like that one.
Heath, so far this is just the story of the one guy who figured out how far people will go not to interact with a pushy Italian.
Okay, no more shots at Cecil when he's not here. It's not fair.
Okay, I'm just saying, does this guy ever actually do any thieving, or is he just going to, hand gesture his way over to the Mona Lisa?
That's thieving.
Right, like I feel the security on a gorilla cage is generally like, what kind of fucking idiot would open this? Right? It's not like he had to crack a safe.
Yeah, he must have had to parkour away from a gorilla right after that. Maybe I don't know. That's hard. So, by the early 90s, Pipino had a reputation with the Italian authorities as by far the most talented thief in recent history, and he was best known for stealing from those art collections of Venetian noblemen. This often happened because Pipino got hired by a different Venetian nobleman to steal from rival rich people. And that was the job that Pipino was working on in the spring of 1991. Count Barozzi, one of the richest people in the country, had hired Pipino to steal some art from Raoul Gardini, one of the other richest people in the country, and apparently a rival.
Okay, I do get that. I mean, honestly, if I could hire a guy to steal stuff as a prank war, I totally would do that.
Really? What would you steal?
One of Thomas Smith's kids.
Oh, Jesus.
What?
None of mine are locked up. Just saying. Gorilla easy.
So, I wish you'd stop describing your kids that way on the air.
I wish they'd stop being that way.
So this particular heist was relatively minor in Pipino's career, but the story gives us a useful glimpse into the racket he was running. In the middle of the day, with plenty of light, of course, Pipino climbed up the wall of Gardini's palatial residence along the Grand Canal and found a window with an old wooden frame that was easy to pull open. Normally, Pipino would be carrying a pigeon in his pocket for this moment, and he'd release the pigeon inside the target house to check for motion detectors. I thought that was a pretty cool strategy. But for this job, he knew he could just run away into a nearby crowd if an alarm went off. So he just went straight inside with no problems.
A single tear runs down the pigeon's cheek. I thought we were a team, Vincenzo. I thought we were brothers.
The pigeon's Italian here.
Yeah.
I gotta say, a pigeon is a great tool to settle a prank war, though. It really emphasizes the squabble.
Oh, Jesus.
Boo.
Squabs.
So Cecil would have loved it.
That's true.
So the house was empty of people when he got inside, and no alarms. So Pipino walked downstairs and opened the front door for his accomplice. Side note on that, Pipino didn't like to work with a big team. At most, he would have a trusted friend as a lookout. For this job, it was his friend Claudio. But apparently Claudio was hearing impaired. So Pipino opened the front door, but Claudio was looking the other direction down the street doing lookout. So Pipino was like, hey, Claudio. Okay, but still no response. So he had to just prop open the front door of the house they were robbing, walk down the street in broad daylight, grab his buddy by the arm, and be like, we're going inside to steal all the stuff.
Oh, all right, master. This is a foreseeable problem, no?
Right? I love the thinking, Vincenzo, but this is not the ideal time for a DEI hire.
So I hear you.
He
did.
The Palazzo Gardini was full of expensive everything, but Pipino went straight for the master bedroom upstairs, and Claudio immediately knew what was happening. Pipino was looking for cashmere. Apparently, that's Pipino's big weakness. He loves cashmere. So he went through Gardini's wardrobe and found a blue cashmere sweater that fit just right. And now it was time for the big-ticket items. Pipino looked over the art collection, and he actually decided it wasn't good enough to steal anything on this particular day. He's a connoisseur. He'd tell Count Barozzi, the guy who was paying him, to pick a better target, I guess. So instead of taking a painting, he took a wooden carved lion that was clearly an important family heirloom for this guy, Raul Gardini. After adding a few more things, the two of them left with almost $500,000 worth of loot, jumped into their boat waiting on the canal, and rowed away in the middle of a sunny Venice afternoon.
In 1991.
Correct.
Well, after the security camera and lock had been invented, everybody.
Yep.
He's trying to cram a pigeon into the keyhole to say, check if it's locked. Why is it always pigeons with you, Vincenzo? Why is it always pigeons?
Apparently, Italy just wasn't trying to stop anything this whole time. I don't get a lot
this
of
whole time.
The ease of all these thefts. It's so easy. I don't know. I feel like we could maybe now, not so. I don't know. So this is where we meet Antonio Palmosi, the chief detective in the Special Investigations Unit of the Venice Police Department. And he's weirdly good friends with Pipino at this point. Palmosi was kind of both an adversary and a fan at the same time, and this fit right in with Pipino's philosophy and the racket. Rich people like to show off their wealth. This is Pipino's philosophy. And thieves like to steal stuff. Pretty simple philosophy.
Yeah, all right.
And apparently the nobility of Venice actually considered it a badge of honor to have their art stolen by Pipino. It was a sign of their good taste. So the racket was pretty simple. Pipino would take something, and then Detective Palmosi would negotiate some kind of vague arrangement to get the valuables returned. And this was a win-win-win, a triple win. The cops would look good for getting the stuff back. The rich people could brag about being robbed by a legendary thief with impeccable taste in art. And Pipino would make some money.
Yeah, before you know it, there's an app called Eye Stealer where some 15-year-old kid's taking your stuff for $8 an hour plus tips. Say, capitalism ruins everything is all I'm saying.
And eventually you cave. You have to buy the paid version because you're tired of seeing all the Eye Stealer ads. This is a weird thing I'm paying for. I should just get pigeons. I should consider pigeons.
We were going to call it Lyft, but apparently they were going to call it
Oh, well done.
So 3 days after the heist at Palazzo Gardini, Detective Palmosi invited Pipino to meet with him for a drink, and this was their normal routine. And this is the conversation they had that day, according to Pipino. After a few pleasantries, Palmosi said, "So, Pipino, there was a heist at the Gardini place." Pipino, "Is that right?" Palmosi, "Yeah, somebody stole a wooden lion that's a family heirloom for that family. Maybe you heard something about that?" Pipino, "I had not heard about that. That is terrible. But I will do whatever I can to help get it back, simply as a proud citizen of Venice. I won't even ask for a single lira." And then Pipino just transitioned the conversation. He started talking about how hard it is to park your boat in the city. How you can find a spot on the side of the canal, but there's no awning and the boat gets all wet when it rains, and that messes up your really nice shoes if you happen to have really nice shoes. And then Pipino added, "Hey, just one more thing, apropos of nothing. The Gardinis, I noticed they have a really nice covered dock right near my house. There's even an empty berth. So, yeah, anyway, I'll let you know if I hear anything about that lion." And then a few days later, the Gardini family somehow got their lion back. And Pipino ended up getting a really nice covered parking spot for his boat right by his house.
Oh, my God.
And that's how it went for years. Everything just kind of worked out for everyone.
All right. Well, while Heath adds the title of master burglar to his resume for the time he stole my penguin pants, we'll all take a quick break for a little apropos of nothing.
I released pigeons all over the place.
I know.
Honey, I'm home.
Luca, at last, I have a terrible news.
Oh, what's that?
Our boy, Vincenzo, he's been stealing.
Stealing? Oh, no.
But don't you worry. I set him straight.
Oh, yeah? How'd you do that?
I told him the house is haunted.
You what?
I told him that there used to be a lady who live in the house, and she fall down the stairs and die. Now her leg haunted the stairwell.
What does this have to do with a stealing?
Because he used the stairs to sneak out and steal. If he's afraid of the stairs, he no steal no more.
I see. Honey, did you even mention the stealing? Like that it's a wrong and stuff?
No, just a ghost.
I see. Well, and now that I'm home, I guess you and I spend some time in the bedroom, eh?
Oh, I would love to, Luca, but you know that little old lady who used to live in my vagina?
You know what? It's a fine.
Ghost pussy. I did the hand gesture the entire sketch. I know it's not a visual, but it kept me on. It helped. And we're back. When we left off, it really wasn't ageist specialists. What happened next?
It's so easy. I don't understand it. So now it's time for the biggest and most dangerous heist of Pipino's career.
Two bags of sugar.
Yeah. He really pulled a muscle. Yeah. No, one day in the summer of 1991, Pipino took his boat from his beautiful new covered parking spot and rowed it over to the Marciana, a famous library that opened in 1560. He liked to read old manuscripts about Venetian nobles and their palazzos and the art they commissioned as a way to case joints for his heists, I guess. But there was a mid-level mafia guy waiting for him at the front door of the library with a message from the big boss of the mafia named Felice Maniero, who wanted a favor from Pipino. Law enforcement had been cracking down, and Maniero couldn't seem to bribe the cops as effectively anymore, and he wanted to get his cousin released from jail. That guy was recently arrested. So he decided to get some extra leverage by stealing some precious art. And he wanted Pipino's advice about what paintings to steal and how to organize the heist.
I feel like you don't need to send a thug to someone's favorite library for a consulting gig. Maybe just hit him up through LinkedIn.
Sure.
Is it just me, or is the path from I want to get my cousin out of jail to I'm going to hire a guy to steal some art not very clear?
Is that to teach an art stealing workshop, no less? Yeah. What?
So Maniero's plan was to have a team of guys run into a Venice museum with guns and just raid the place, which is the opposite of Pipino's philosophy. Also, that would ruin the delicate balance of Pipino's racket by putting the whole city on high alert. On the other hand, you kind of have to do whatever the fuck the mafia boss tells you to do. So Pipino came up with his own plan, and he went to meet with one of Maniero's top lieutenants to explain that plan. They met in a cornfield to make sure nobody was listening, and Pipino explained the idea. He would steal a really important painting on his own and then give it to Maniero, who could then negotiate with the authorities. The lieutenant finally agreed to the plan, and he said, "Okay, so what are you going to steal?" And Pipino said, "Just read the paper. You'll find out."
You know what? I'm going to see what looks good when I get there. You know, I'm worried I'll fill up on postcards if I don't.
They get you on those point-of-sale things, yeah. So on October 9th, 1991, Pipino joined a tour group and went inside the Ducale, also known as the Doge Palace, which was built in 1340, and it was the home base of the Venetian Republic way back in the day. And now it's a museum full of important artwork.
And an important cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So during the tour, the group went across an enclosed bridge to an old prison building. This is called the Bridge of Sighs. I believe it was coined by Lord Byron. And this is where criminals, way back in the day, would stop at the bridge's one little window and look at the outside world one last time and say, "Alas," and sigh, and then go to jail. So once the tour group... Yeah, isn't that weird? I feel like sighing is a weird focus
I have
for
so
that.
many questions. Like, did a guy ever say no? What if you took too long? Sorry, you were doing an essay. I'm sorry.
Man, just get your sighs out. Let's go. We're moving a line here. Yeah. So once the tour group was in that prison area, Pipino let everyone get ahead of him by a little bit, and he ducked into one of the old prison cells and closed himself inside. And then he waited there in the dark, I presume terrified of the golden impaled ghost leg that kept appearing in front of him, until everybody was gone for the night except for a few guards.
Ah, yeah, no, the old, they can't put me in prison if I put me there first gambit. I see.
Yep.
Yeah, very smooth. So Pipino waited in the cell, and he timed out the rounds of the guards, which were about 45 minutes between each pass, and then he went to work. At 2 a.m., after a guard went by, he snuck back across that bridge of sighs to the Sala di Censori, where they had the Madonna col Bambino, an extremely valuable painting that's considered a symbol of the Venetian Republic, like a huge deal. If somebody steals it, he's going to steal it. Pipino started looking for a way to climb up on a ledge to get to the painting, but then he heard the footsteps of an extra guard coming from the prison area. So he snuck back to the bridge to hide, but that is a really bad spot to hide. The bridge is divided into 2 lanes with a limestone wall down the middle, but the wall has big gaps, and the guard could easily see through to the other side. So Pipino just picked a side and pressed up against the wall, and he got lucky. The guard came down the other side and walked right past him just inches away, didn't notice. So Pipino went back to the prison cell to wait for the next 45-minute window with the golden ghost leg. After the next guard went by, he found a custodial closet with a stepladder, went back to the painting, and cut it out of the frame with a scalpel, and escaped out a side door.
Well, he outwitted Inspector Clouseau with the old hide-like-a-6-year-old trick. Cool. These paintings deserved to be stolen.
Yeah,
Right, no
at a certain
security.
point. Yeah.
Like, this is fucking Pink Panther level shit.
He didn't even use a pigeon for this one. Yeah. So the next day, Detective Palmosi showed up to investigate the crime scene. And immediately he was like, yeah, this obviously had to be Pipino. There wasn't any obvious evidence, but Pipino made one little slip up. The frame of the painting had some dust that fell onto that stepladder, and Pipino left a tread print. So by the next morning, the forensics team was able to identify the shoe, and Detective Palmosi sent a team to arrest Pipino and take all the shoes from his house to prove the match. But then Palmosi looked at that morning's paper. The lead story was, of course, about the heist, and it said, investigators found as the only evidence the footprint of a gym shoe. Because some asshole at the museum had told a reporter about the footprint. And, of course, Pipino read the story that morning, too, and immediately got rid of the shoes he was using. About 15 minutes later, after Pipino got rid of those shoes, the police showed up at his front door, and he answered barefoot just to be a dick.
That's great.
Obviously,
great.
They didn't find the shoes they were looking for, so they just told him that Detective Palmosi wanted to have another meeting. Pipino said, of course, let me just put on a pair of shoes. And he went down to the station.
Oh, and here's a pair in the garbage bin outside, and would you look at that? They're even in my size.
So this time, the meeting wasn't a typical lighthearted one with his detective buddy. Palmosi was yelling right away, and he immediately started threatening Pipino with reopening old cases and putting 24-hour surveillance on him. Pipino couldn't have any of that, and he promised to help get the painting back. He said, quote, I can give you my word, a thief's word, that you'll recover the Madonna, you'll get it back in 20 days. And somehow, spoiler, the cops did end up getting it back within 20 days.
I'm sorry. Their chief suspect said, I'm a thief and I know where the painting is. And the cop's response was to be like, well, my hands are tied. I hope he keeps his promise.
Well, yes, I don't understand these. Yes.
Well, it's like
what happened.
America, guys. There are a lot of rules about what the cops can't do to white people.
That's true.
Yeah, okay, so the rest of the story, we only know from the account of Pipino himself. And his own story has 3 different versions. He told one version to Palmosi, claiming he wasn't involved and everything just happened to work itself out in 20 days, just like he predicted. Then he told a second version of the story in a book that he wrote in 2010 that seems to be aimed at Maniero, the mafia boss, in order to avoid getting murdered. In that second version, Pipino says that he set up the return of the painting ahead of time. He claimed that he made a deal with Maniero's lieutenant, who would give the painting back in exactly 20 days. But that wouldn't give Maniero time to negotiate with the cops, which was supposed to be the whole point. But it does put the blame on the lieutenant for what happens next. We're about to get to it. That brings us to the third and final version that seems to be the most likely actual story. This is the version that Pipino told most recently from prison, where he's probably going to spend the rest of his life for drug trafficking. Sadly, it's unrelated to any of the art theft, but he's in prison for possibly life.
I think I might know why he's seeing a ghost leg all the time, though.
Right, yeah.
Solve that mystery.
So, according to Pipino, he stole the painting, then gave it to Maniero, but then he stole it back and handed it over to the cops. He explained the whole thing to a reporter, but he started the whole story by saying, quote, "This is a hypothetical story. None of what I'm about to say happened." Start story.
Okay, so to be fair, Cecil inserts that same disclaimer into most of Eli's citation needed episodes.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Again,
also, everyone knows they can't convict you if you say that, or if you tell your story and then say "not" at the end. So like you're all good.
That's legal. Yeah.
I think I read that. Wasn't it called "If I Did It"? Ghostwritten by O.J. Simpson. Isn't that?
So here's the hypothetical story that didn't happen, but probably a bunch of it happened. After getting yelled at by Detective Palmosi and promising the painting would be back in 20 days, Pipino went to visit Maniero at his mansion that is patrolled by armed guards 24/7. The windows are bulletproof, and the mafia boss installed an extremely elaborate water filtration system to make sure nobody could poison him by getting to his water supply.
interesting.
Yeah, Brita pictures. Got it.
Yeah.
Very possible. So Maniero greeted Pipino at the door, and they headed to a basement area that Pipino describes as, quote, "a bachelor pad designed by a teenage girl," which is... I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
He didn't expand on that. So Pipino explained to Maniero that the painting can't come back to the cops damaged, or else they'll go back on whatever promises they make about, like, your cousin or surveillance. And Maniero said, "Yeah, don't worry. It's in a shed behind my cousin's house. Totally safe. The painting's all good." So Pipino knew exactly where to go to steal back the painting. And then he went on with a little bit more small talk so as not to be suspicious. And then he left.
I just want to throw out there that I, too, would be a master thief if everyone told me where the stolen stuff was and never paid attention to anything I did.
Okay, it's not that I disagree with your overall point, Eli, but I've heard you try to be silent for 5 seconds of room noise. Right, so I'm not buying the whole "I could have laid down next to the partition while the guard walked by" line from you.
Solid
you
refute.
personally.
Solid refute.
You feel like climbing a step ladder would have worked for you? You would have
No.
been fine? You would have scalped the thing down?
I would have asked the guard to come hold it. Also, I only own one pair of shoes.
Yeah. And they can hear the Velcro. The Velcro is very noisy when you're stealing. Yeah.
Is this a Velcro? You're like a 32, right? Are you okay?
So the next day, Pipino met with his friend called the Professor, who does expert forgeries of paintings, and he commissioned the guy to make him a replica of the Madonna. And then he went to a veterinarian to get some animal tranquilizer. That'll make sense in a second. He knew that Maniero had guard dogs everywhere, probably at his cousin's house, too, where the painting was being kept. So about a week later, Pipino snuck onto the cousin's property late at night and found the shed. And he crept closer to check for guard dogs. And he found a guard tiger instead.
Okay, how many pigeons did he use to check for the tiger? That's
So he sees the tiger and he's like, all right, whatever, I got to keep going with this plan. He pulls a steak out of his bag that he had ready for a dog, and he applied an extra big dose of tranquilizer, just guessing at it, for tigers, and pushed it through the fence. The tiger ate it, and after about 30 minutes, the tiger went to sleep. So Pipino went inside the shed, and he spotted the painting. And then he heard some breathing, and he looked up in the dark and saw 2 very large feline eyes right in front of him. It was a second tiger, because of fucking course there were 2 guard tigers. So he slowly pulled out another steak.
He
that
brought
had
a
ready.
spare steak.
He brought at least 2 steaks, according to this account.
Okay.
And he pulled out some more of the tranquilizer, and he got the second tiger asleep.
And a George Foreman grill.
Yeah. He's like, damn it, this animal tranquilizer was my head stash, but I'm going to have to...
Yeah.
It's the only thing that makes the golden leg go away.
So he gets the second tiger asleep, too. And then just as the first tiger was probably about to wake up, he took that original Madonna, replaced it with the forgery, and he snuck away.
Heath, far be it from me to ever say anyone's citation needed essay isn't adding up, but the second guard tiger makes me wary
and then I
of
fought
this
another
story.
tiger.
Guard tiger. Hey, good news is the painting is now surrounded by the tigers. Bad news, now we have a bit of a tiger problem.
Yeah,
So, at the very end of that account from jail, Pipino added, quote, "Yeah, but there weren't any tigers. I never stole the painting back." And that's the end of the story. That being said, reporters were able to confirm with some locals in Maniero's town that the mob boss did in fact own two tigers
Well, there you
named
go, Eli.
Romeo and Juliet.
Nice.
And Maniero was known to hide stolen items in that shed behind his cousin's house.
Well, illicit goods stashing 101, you hide them in the place with the most guard tigers.
That's basic
Yeah.
stuff.
Is guard a necessary modifier for tigers?
Just tigers that are like, go right in, sir. Yeah. Probably not. Please proceed, Governor. No. But more importantly, on November 7th, 1991, that painting somehow magically got returned, and it was confirmed to be the real original. And Pipino was never put under surveillance, and he never got charged with anything related to art theft ever since.
Okay, Heath, you're making the Italian police look incompetent and corrupt. Mm-hmm. Is this essay just like a love letter you're writing to Amanda Knox? Or...
They see... what do they do there? Like, there's no police. It's so silly. It's cartoon rhinos. Oh, it's crazy.
I mean, if you live in a 16th century boat park, you don't have to take anything else in your life. If your city is sinking, you're not going to be like, guys, let's take our police job super serious.
Very chill, very lax. So here's the very last piece of the story. The police are about to have a press conference to announce the return of the painting, triumphantly. And Pipino shows up at the station that day to meet with Palmosi. They have a little banter, and the detective says, okay, but I'm still going to catch you with my own hands. I'm going to figure it out somehow. And then he shows Pipino the gift that he got from the museum as a reward for helping make the recovery happen. It's a beautiful, oversized book with a photo collection of all the masterpieces inside the Doge Palace. And then they head to the press conference. Palmosi proudly announces that the Madonna was found. All the investigators pose for a photo, and Palmosi heads back to his office. He's about to start working on a new case, and then he noticed that something was missing. The book from the museum was gone. And Pipino danced his way out of the station, fucking double birds right up there.
His limp changes to the other leg.
Exactly.
And if you had to summarize what you learned in one sentence, what would it be?
Commit crimes in Venice, Italy, apparently.
Oh, sure, but when Heath says it. And are you ready for the quiz?
Ready for the quiz.
All right, Heath. What is the key takeaway for this essay? A, it's not what you know, it's who you know. B, especially if who you know are the cops.
Yeah, it's C, or A, and B both.
Yeah, it tends to be.
All right, Heath. Italy is apparently a children's book, so which of Pipino's whimsical adventures did you forget to tell us about? A, that time he started a babysitter's club. B, the time he defeated the Dark Lord Voldemort. Or C, the time he gave a mouse a cookie.
Okay. I probably did forget to tell you about the time he gave a mouse a cookie. I feel like that probably happened.
Absolutely. How he's his man
Probably
on the
had
inside.
tranquilizers in it or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tiger mouse.
All right. I've got one for you, Heath. What is the best song about Vincenzo Pipino? A, Tranquilize of the Tiger. B,
I like that one.
Venetian Deletion Completion. C, Little Saint Nyctophobia. That's Fear of the Dark. Or D, Stop Dragging My Art Around.
Fantastic.
Or E, I really miss Cecil. He's way better at this stuff.
Okay, it's got to be A, tranquilize the tiger. Yeah, I love that.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
And he's a survivor.
Or no, it's different. It's E. It's that I miss Cecil.
Oh.
It was E. I was close.
Well,
Far.
Noah's the only one who tried to do the thing that we do for our job, so he wins.
All right, I'll choose Tom for next week's essay.
All right. Well, for Noah, Tom, Cecil, and Heath, I'm Eli Bosnick. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Tom will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can listen to Heath, Noah, and myself over on God Awful Movies, The Scathing Atheist, The Skeptocrat, and D&D Minus. You can listen to Tom and I dad it up over on our show, Dear Old Dads. You can hear Tom and Cecil cog the hell out of some dis over at Cognitive Dissonance, and I don't have a podcast with Cecil yet, but I assure you, I'm working on it. And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod, or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com. And remember, if the punishment for a crime is a fine, that's not a punishment, it's a price.
Hi, Frank. Yeah, it's Heath Henright. Yes. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's why I'm calling. So, I was wondering, do you guys do singing apologies? Because, oh, he did. Yeah. Okay, well, there was some confusion, and then, oh, he did. Okay, well, I'm really sorry to hear that. Is there a place I can send flowers for Tony's family, or like a funeral, maybe? Too many pieces? Yeah, no, I understand. Really sorry about that.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely. And parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/getstarted. That's GREENLIGHT.com/getstarted.